I'm Tyson,
I'm Emma. I'm Kim.
and we are Tech Talk. Welcome to our history hangout. Grab your passports because today we're going to 200,000 to 10,000 BCE, the Paleolithic era.
We have a lot to unpack within this era, but we've all agreed that there's one important artifact that we'd like to begin with.
The Woman of Willendorf.
Emma, tell us a little about the women of Willendorf.
The Venus or Woman of Willendorf was a smaller sculpture made around 27,000 BCE. It was found in Austria. It's made of limestone and chalk and is about 11 centimeters tall. Kim, can you explain why the sculpture is so much smaller than the other sculptures within this time period?
Of course, Emma, the sculpture was made very small because people back then were very nomadic and we were always traveling around. So, Tyson, who do you believe this sculpture was made for and what did it portray?
I believe that this sculpture was made to glorify women. The Venus represented a Roman goddess of love, sex, beauty, and fertility. So having this sculpture on hand could be used as a charm for women during this time. We come to believe that women had held this object as during labor as a sign of hope and guidance.
Period. You were so into it. I was like, damn.
No, it's the fact that he was like into it. He would be like, that was making me giggle.
Okay.
Emma, when you were first introduced to this sculpture, how did you feel and think about it?
I would say personally, as a woman, I do feel like a sense of connection to the artifact. From what I've learned, I do feel like the women during this time could have used it as a fertility object, like something they could have carried along with them while they were in labor. But I've also witnessed like women in today's society using like lucky charms throughout their pregnancy. So, Kim, also as a woman, how do you feel about that?
I think it was very like, let's see, is noble a good word?
Yeah,
Of them to like represent women back then, and it saddens me now that we aren't really getting that same representation as we should be getting. But Tyson, as like a male yourself, what do you think?
I felt that seeing an important piece from way back then that's for women instead of just the usual men was quite inspiring because seeing how the artifact can impact a woman of a time that they used to cope during fertility or like any other time was quite amazing. I can 100% understand the importance of the Venus to the female gaze.
Oh my god, it's not funny.
Now, shifting on to our independent artifacts, Emma, what can you tell us about the human with a lion head?
Emma's a giggle box today.
Okay. It's just so loud. I feel like I'm
We
screaming.
cannot focus.
Okay. Okay, so we might have our notes out during this, so I might look over here a little bit. The art piece that I have individually is the human with a lion head. It's also called the human with a feline head. It was found in Holstein Stadel, Germany. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, and it's believed to have been made around 40,000 to 35,000 BCE. The handheld sculpture is made of woolly mammoth ivory and is about 11 5/8 inches tall. It's like almost a foot tall. It's understood that this is one of the first sculptures to show like anthropomorphic factors and features within it, which that's known for like combining human features with like animal characteristics. This specific piece is displayed as a thin human with some kind of like cave feline head. Although it looks smooth, researchers have contributed to the idea that it used to be like a lot more rough because it was carved. And moving on to the importance.
Yep.
Um, for at this size, it's like remarkable because a lot of the times, like just like the Woman of Willendorf, it was like a smaller handheld sculpture most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
But we can see that in this, it becomes a lot bigger, like almost a foot tall. It's like a big stretch for them, and it might indicate like it being so much larger than others that it had a like special significance or something along those lines. Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Please just give me one more chance, please. 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 Yeah, okay.
Yes.
And also the fact that it's so much bigger, it could be shown that like it was meant to last within this time. And the piece is also worn down, so the smooth texture might indicate that it was handled frequently, and and that also suggests that it traveled with the nomadic groups as they moved. But the weathering does signify that it wasn't just like an object to look at; it was more something that people held on to, and it whether it was a myth or maybe like there was like stories along those lines, like you can see that it was handled more frequently, maybe in a way, maybe passed around throughout like a campfire or something along those lines.
So Emma, why do you think there was like a reason for the lion head to begin with?
I feel like for them to be so creative within this time period and the way that they were thinking, I mean, I feel like in this day's society, like we do combine things because we're more creative in the sense where it's like we know that it's mythical.
Yeah.
But I feel like maybe for them it was more of like a danger they felt lied within their time. Like, I mean, they saw humans and they saw these cave lions because most of the time nomadic people traveled and stayed in caves. So I feel like maybe they they made up these myths to carry on throughout generations.
Okay, so do you believe they actually saw this like in real life?
I don't believe they saw it in real life, but I think that their ability to create something so like I don't know how to say like it's just like creative. Like the ability that they were to make something like that, I think it shows like how we've progressed to like our type of art to like how they were able to just like make that up in their head rather than,
The imagination was there.
yeah, imagination was definitely
So
there.
like, what was your like personal like first impression by it?
I didn't understand its deeper meaning. Like, I really just thought I was like, this is a really weird piece. Like, I feel like when we all saw it, we were like, what is going on? Like, what is that? But like now, like after knowing like the texture, composition, and like the history behind like the nomadic people,
Yeah.
I feel like it tells like so much larger of a story about like, each detail adds up to like their beliefs and their fears in the world that like they lived in.
Yeah.
And it's more than just like a like sculpture. I feel like I more see it now as like a glimpse into the life that they were living, because like it being so smooth could be like a teller for it being passed along within generations, and people were handing it to other people, passing it along, telling stories. I think that's a big part. But moving on from my piece of artwork, we're moving on to Kim with the Brassempouy Woman.
Do you want to take a
We also have 5 minutes left, so.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna wrap it up a little early right now because we gotta go to lunch, but we will be back.
Yeah, we gotta go be big backs. Oh yeah. You know what? I'll do an interpretive dance to end this off. Okay, ready?
Okay, Emma.
Hey, boots.
Give it. Boots and
Got some boots and got some boots and got some boots. Hey. Get it. Go Emma. Go Emma. And
We're back. We have just filled our backs, and now we're ready to talk about the Brassempouy Woman.
Brassempouy.
Go ahead.
So Kim, what can you tell us about the Brassempouy Woman?
Brassempouy.
Okay, that is not how you pronounce it.
Guys,
Brassempouy.
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 You said Brassempouy. All right. I will be talking about the Brassempouy Woman. The Brassempouy Woman is very similar to the women of Willendorf. It was very small and portable, which you can bring around and travel with. And the measurements are 35.6 millimeters high, 22 millimeters deep, and 19 millimeters wide. It was sculpted out of an ivory mammoth tusk. Yes. It was carved, by the way. And it dates back to 25,000 to 20,000 BCE. And the figure itself only depicts like the nose, no other like detailed facial features. So yeah. And her hair is like she has like bangs.
Do you ever look at someone and wonder what is going on inside their head?
Really long hair, and it's like squared shape pattern all around her head. Okay, now the importance. The importance. It is like one of the earliest depictions of a female form, and
Somebody's
it's not too realistic. So that means it's like gonna symbolize like fertility, sex, all that stuff, like the woman of Willendorf. And when I first saw this figure, I thought it was very interesting how they carved like the patterns on her head, and that she had no like specific features on her face. It was just her nose, and it makes me question like why they didn't add that. And as a woman, I feel proud that they, thought about us back then. Almost repeating the same words I did for the woman of Willendorf. It's like very nice to see that we were thought about. Yeah. I don't know what else to say. I choked up. So, how did you guys feel about this piece?
I was like really impressed on like how they could carve a small little sculpture, I guess, out of like a small piece of ivory, and how they could point out like it wasn't very detailed as like art nowadays, but obviously back then they didn't have a lot of tools, so it was very impressive to see how intricate they could make the small little sculpture with what they had.
Yeah, I kind of going off of that too. I just like it's honestly it's really nice seeing that like throughout this period of time there's more representation of women throughout artwork, and it shows kind of like how they have like an important purpose and a role, just as Kim said before too. I just think that it's really nice to see that women are being portrayed as something like with importance in history.
Yeah, so the woman of Willendorf and the Brassempouy figure are very, very, very similar.
Yeah, I was gonna like I feel like their background and what makes it how like impressive it is, it like kind of leads back to the fact that like it's like the first representation of women.
Yeah. All right, so that was my figure. It's time to move on to the Two Bison. Tyson, take it away.
Yes, I will be taking it away.
Laughing track. Wait a minute. Giggle. Start laughing.
I'm just funny. Okay. Now, to describe the two bison, there are two bison found in the cave at the Tuk de Adelbert.
Tuc d'Audubert.
I'll play the actual description later, but close enough. In France, and they date back to around like 15,000 to 10,000 BCE. These were made out of clay and are around like 2 feet long, which makes them like the largest Paleolithic artwork found back in that time. And the sculptor used their fingers with like a stone spatula, like smoothing tool, to shape like the small details on the bison. Do you guys have any like questions?
I do. So, do you think the process of excuse my French. Sorry. I do have a question. Do you think it was a tedious process?
In my opinion, I think that it probably was, because you think about it. You have clay and you're bringing it onto a stone and you're carving out a little makeshift like bison. So using with the tools of what you had to make such detailed like a sculpture that detailed is probably really hard to make.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Emma?
Are like reliefs like new at this time? Like, did we see more additive or like subtractive art? Like, did they like play like move things away from rock or?
During at this time, I think it varied on like what area or what people were making art, but I don't think there's like a real answer on if there was more subtractive or additive, because I think it varied around like the resources around them and like the type of, the customs of those type of people.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah. And the importance of this artifact is that like the Two Bison showed like creative advancements of our Paleolithic ancestors, and to see them like utilize just natural resources around them was quite impressive, in my opinion. And to carve out like what they were surrounded by, like by using their memories and stuff to live with the bison and to like create a structure out of them was probably really important, because that probably meant like the bison probably meant were probably important to them.
How did you feel about this piece when you first saw it?
When I first saw it, I was impressed because you're thinking about like cave people who just either live in a cave or go nomadic people who just hunt, and you're thinking about them creating art, which is like the media does not display like cave people as like smart. They're usually like ignorant or uncivilized. But as you can see, we have physical evidence of artistic abilities being used during this era. So I think it was quite impressive to see something like that just coexist with us.
That was a great explanation.
So
Okay, let's wrap it up now. Let's like do a wrap up.
Okay, so as an overview of what we just talked about, we've talked about the woman of Willendorf, we've talked about the human with a lion head, the Brassempouy Woman, and we have talked about the Two Bison, which these are all great artworks throughout the Paleolithic era. And I just think that we touched all areas. If you guys have any questions?
The comments
below.
Mr. Reynolds, leave any comments.
Yeah, you leave it in the comments.
But I think overall, all the pieces have their own,
artistic style.
Yes.
But I feel like they all are connected in one way.
I feel like they definitely. We're getting flipped off right now by
Jerry!
Marvin.
Not true, guys. Not true.
They can't hear you, honey.
I ain't say nothing, but you heard me.
So, like, how would you wrap up the Paleolithic era?
So, oh wait, Kim or me?
I would wrap it up by saying, I'd say they were pretty like almost advanced for their time. If they were able to mix different mediums together to create amazing artworks. So that's great.
Definitely.
Emma?
Honestly, I would say the same thing. I feel like when you think, just as Tyson was saying in his last piece, is like you would think that cave people would not have the advancements and be as creative as they were, but you can see throughout their artwork and the things that the work that they're putting out, and that what survived or what has survived, you can see how like the progression within this time is, you could definitely see it.
And like what Emma said, like what we have now. Imagine if everything survived from those ages. Imagine how much art they would have created.
Imagine how many caves are out there that haven't been explored.
Exactly. Imagine. Just think about that.
Just imagine.
So much exploring today.
Because guess what? I guess
We'll never know.
Everybody want to know what I would do if I didn't win. I guess we'll never know.
Okay.
So yeah, that was our first. that was our first episode.
Jerry, stop being a hater.
And
Just do your art.
We'll see you next time. We gotta do.
Wait, we gotta be like, it's not gonna be a perfect episode right now, guys, because we're just getting started, or just Mr. Reynolds.
We're just getting started.
But our second one, you best believe, we go be
Ready? TEK out this bee.
And it's cloudy and it's very depressing.
The woman of Willendorf? No. But did we do it?
Do it.
I thought we did it.
Yeah, we did.
We
Have video
did?
evidence.
Oh my gosh, we did do it. Okay.
Yes.
What's up, guys? It's the special guest appearance. Today we're gonna talk about the
Don't sit down.
the lost city of Pompeii. So they were idiots. They lived next to a volcano that they didn't really know about. And I just feel like you shouldn't live next to something that you don't really know about. Like, if I didn't know what something was, why would I build a city next to it? So that's where they first messed up. And then Nero, I mean, I just want to give praise to that guy because I feel like since he like wrote about it and drew it, I feel like that made like it comical because he's over there drawing and people are just dying and burning and getting covered with lava. So yes, guys, and